The cold left Jack's body slowly. His fingers twitched first, then his toes. The cryopod hissed as it opened, releasing a cloud of white mist into the dim room. Jack Miller took his first breath in what felt like forever, his lungs burning as they remembered how to work. "Welcome back, Captain Miller," said a calm female voice from speakers above. "This is Navi. Ship systems detected a critical problem requiring human oversight." Jack's eyes adjusted to the low light. He was in the cryo-sleep chamber of the colony, Ship Pathfinder. Rows of pods stretched into the distance, each holding a sleeping human. The room was silent except for the soft hum of machines keeping everyone alive. "Status report," Jack croaked, his voice rough from years of disuse. "Navigation systems are badly damaged," Navi replied. "Power levels at 43%. Life support stable. Ship trajectory unknown." Jack pushed himself up, muscles weak from the long sleep. The metal floor felt cold against his bare feet as he made his way to the nearest computer panel. The screen showed unfamiliar star patterns, nothing like the maps they had studied before launch. "Where are we, Navi?" he asked, tapping commands. Into the console. "Unable to determine precise location. Star mapping suggests we are approximately 78 light-years from Earth, but not in our planned flight path." Jack felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cryosleep. The Pathfinder carried 10,000 colonists, all still sleeping in their pods. They had left Earth seeking a new home on a carefully selected planet. Now they were lost in unknown space with damaged systems. "Any other crew members awake?" Jack asked, already suspecting the answer. "Negative. Emergency protocols awakened only the commanding officer. All other crew remain in cryosleep." Jack moved to the bridge, his legs growing, stronger with each step. The main view screen showed the blackness of space dotted with unfamiliar stars. A blue-green planet hung in the distance with twin moons orbiting it. "What's that planet, Navi?" he asked, pointing at the screen. "Unknown. Not in our database. Preliminary scans show breathable atmosphere, liquid water, and vegetation. Temperature. Range is suitable for human life." Jack studied the readouts. It wasn't their intended destination, but it looked promising. Perhaps they could. A light began blinking on the communications panel. "Navi, what's that signal?" "Detecting artificial transmission from the planet's surface. Signal pattern suggests intelligent origin." Jack felt his heart race. "Intelligent? You mean aliens?" "Affirmative. Signal contains mathematical sequences that appear deliberately created. Translation impossible with current data." Jack stared at the distant planet. In all of human history, no one had ever made contact with alien intelligence. If the signal was artificial, it meant they weren't alone out here. He moved to the captain's chair and sat down, thinking. The ship was damaged, lost in unknown space. They had limited power and no way to know if they could reach their original destination. But here was a planet that could support human life, sending signals that suggested intelligent beings. Navi, how many of the colonists can we wake safely, with our current power levels? Recommend maintaining minimum crew only. Waking more than 20 colonists would strain life support systems. Jack nodded. What about our shuttlecraft? Are they operational? Shuttle Bay 1 contains 3 functional shuttles. Fuel reserves at 87%. Jack made his decision. Set course for the planet, Navi. Standard orbit. I want detailed scans of the surface, especially near the signal source. Course adjusted. Estimated arrival in planetary orbit, 17 hours. As the ship changed direction, Jack went to check on the sleeping colonists. Row after row of pods filled the massive chamber, each containing a person who had left Earth hoping for a new beginning. Teachers, doctors, engineers, farmers, all the skills needed to build a new society. They had trusted their lives to this ship, to this mission. Now their fate rested in Jack's hands alone. He stopped at pod DR 1457. Through the small window, he could see the face of Dr. Tom Reed, the colony's chief scientist. Next to him was pod number 1458, containing his wife, Dr. Emma Reed, the xenobiologist. Jack had gotten to know them during the months of training before launch. Good people, brilliant minds. They would be valuable if he needed to wake someone. But, for now, they slept on, unaware of their changed circumstances. Back on the bridge, Jack studied the approaching planet more carefully. Navi's scans revealed continents and oceans, mountain ranges and forests. It looked eerily like Earth, yet subtly different. The oceans had a deeper blue color, and strange cloud formations spiraled across the northern hemisphere. Navi, are you detecting any large cities or structures? Negative for large-scale construction. However, several smaller clusters of artificial structures detected near the signal source. Technology level appears mixed. Some areas show energy signatures consistent with advanced technology, while others appear primitive. Jack frowned. That's odd. Could it be different civilizations? Insufficient data. Recommend closer observation. As the Pathfinder entered orbit around the planet, Jack got his first clear view of the surface. Forests covered much of the land, with strange purple and blue hues mixed among the green. Rivers cut silver paths through the landscape. Near the source of the signal, he could see a clearing with what appeared to be small settlements. Navi, focus scans on that area, Jack said, pointing to the screen. The image zoomed in, revealing structures that looked like a cross between stone huts and modern buildings. Some appeared ancient and weathered, while others seemed newer. Most curious was a partially buried complex at the center, its design unlike anything surrounding it. The signal originates from the central structure, Navy reported. Design suggests different builders than the surrounding settlement. Power signature detected despite apparent age. Jack made his decision. Prepare Shuttle 1 for launch. I'm going down there. Caution advised. Captain. Unknown biological and technological factors present potential dangers. Noted, Jack said, heading to his quarters to change into a proper uniform. But those people down there might have answers we need. And the 10,000 sleepers on this ship need a home. An hour later, Jack stood in the shuttle bay, dressed, in his captain's uniform, with an environmental suit packed just in case. He carried a standard exploration kit, scanner, medical supplies, emergency rations, and a sidearm. Navy. If I don't return within 48 hours, wake Dr. Reed and give him command. Understood, Captain. Shuttle 1 ready for launch. Jack climbed into the small craft, his hands moving automatically over the controls. As the bay doors opened, he looked back at the massive colony ship. 10,000 lives, all depending on what he found on the surface. The shuttle engines fired, pushing him away from the Pathfinder and toward the unknown planet below. As he entered the atmosphere, flames licked at the shuttle's heat shields. Through the viewport, the alien landscape grew larger, more detailed. Forests stretched to the horizon, and in the distance, he could see the clearing where the signal originated. Jack took a deep breath as he guided the shuttle down. He was about to become the first human to set foot on an alien world with intelligent life. Whatever waited below would change humanity forever. The shuttle touched down in a cloud of dust, engines powering down. Jack checked his scanner one last time, confirming the air was breathable. Then he opened the hatch and stepped onto the surface of a new world, the first human footprint marking the soil of a planet far from Earth. The adventure had only just begun. Jack stepped away from the shuttle, his boots pressing into soil that no human had ever touched before. The air felt strange in his lungs, clean and fresh, but with odd scents he couldn't name. The sky above had a slight greenish tint, and the sun looked smaller than Earth's but gave off a warm, comfortable light. He checked his handheld scanner, which pointed toward a structure half buried in the side of a small hill about a mile away. The signal was coming from there. Navi, can you hear me? Jack spoke into his communicator. Signal clear, Captain, replied the ship's AI. How is the environment? Breathable. Gravity slightly less than Earth. No immediate threats detected. Jack began walking toward the hill. I'm heading to the signal source now. The path took him through a forest unlike any on Earth. The trees had smooth, dark purple bark and leaves in shades of blue and green. Strange, bird-like creatures flew overhead with 6 wings that moved in perfect rhythm. Small animals that looked like a cross between rabbits and lizards scattered as he approached. Jack kept his hand near his weapon, but nothing seemed aggressive. After 30 minutes of walking, he reached the edge of the forest. Before him stretched a wide clearing, and at its center stood the half-buried structure. Up close, it was clearly artificial, made of a smooth, dark material that didn't look like stone or metal, with angular designs etched into its surface. Near the structure were smaller buildings made of wood and stone. They looked like homes, but Jack saw no sign of whoever built them. "The settlement appears abandoned," Jack said into his communicator. "No movement detected. Sensors show multiple life forms approximately half a mile west of your position," Navi reported. "They appear to be moving away." "They're avoiding me," Jack realized. "Probably saw the shuttle land." He approached the main structure carefully. What looked like a doorway was visible, though no actual door remained. Jack shined his light inside, revealing a corridor that led deeper underground. "I'm entering the structure," he told Navi. "Stand by." The corridor sloped gently downward, its walls covered in symbols Jack didn't recognize. His scanner indicated the signal was coming from deeper inside. After walking about 50 yards, the corridor opened into a large chamber. Jack's light barely reached the high ceiling. The room contained what looked like control panels and large, dark screens. Everything was covered in a thin layer of dust, suggesting no one had been here for a long time. "I've found some kind of control room," Jack reported. "Technology level, appears advanced, but inactive." He approached one of the panels, examining it without touching anything. The design was strange, but somehow familiar, as if the builders had similar ideas about how technology should work, despite being alien. "I wonder if," Jack began, but stopped when his hand accidentally brushed against the panel. The entire room suddenly hummed to life. Lights flickered on overhead, and the screens lit up with symbols and images. Jack stepped back, startled but fascinated. "Navi, the facility is activating. It seems to respond to human touch." "Caution advised, Captain," Navi replied, her voice slightly broken by interference. "Unknown technology may pose risks." The largest screen in the center of the room now showed what appeared to be a star map. Jack recognized some constellations. This was a map of the local region of space, including Earth's solar system. "They knew about Earth," Jack whispered. As he watched, the images changed. Now they showed beings that walked on two legs like humans, but were clearly not human. They had longer limbs, larger eyes, and skin that seemed to shimmer with a blue-green color. The images showed them building great cities, traveling in space, creating what looked like gardens on different worlds. "Navi, I'm seeing images of what I believe are the builders of this facility. Bipedal humanoid, but definitely alien." A new sound filled the room, a series of musical tones followed by what could only be speech. Jack couldn't understand the words, but the pattern was clear. This was language, not random noise. One of the panels lit up with new symbols. As Jack watched, the symbols began to change, rearranging themselves. With a shock, he realized they were turning into English letters. "Navi, the system is translating itself. It's analyzing our communication and adapting." The process took several minutes, during which more screens activated, showing more images of the aliens and their technology. Finally, words appeared on the main screen. "Communication established. Welcome Seeded Species Variant 7. "Seeded species?" Jack read aloud. "What does that mean?" The system responded to his question. "You are designation. Human. Your world designation. Earth, you were seeded by the architects 3.4 million cycles ago." Jack felt his heart pound faster. "Who are the architects?" "We are the architects. We seeded life on 126 suitable worlds. Your species is one of 27 that achieved space travel." Jack struggled to understand. These architects claim to have seeded life on Earth, created humans? Are there any architects still alive? "Are you alive?" Jack asked. "Negative. Last architect expired 42,1051 cycles ago. This is an automated facility. Purpose: preserve knowledge. Guide seeded species when ready." What happened to the architects? War with designation, swarm. Architects defeated, civilization ended. Remaining knowledge stored in facilities like this one on seeded worlds. Jack sat down on what appeared to be a chair, trying to process this information. An ancient alien species had apparently created life on Earth and many other planets. They had been wiped out by something called the Swarm. And now he, a lost human from a colony ship, had stumbled upon one of their knowledge vaults. "Do you have star charts? Navigation data?" Jack asked, thinking of the Pathfinder and its 10,000 sleeping passengers. "Affirmative. Complete stellar cartography available. Access granted to qualified seeded species." As Jack was about to ask another question, an alarm sounded from his communicator. "Captain, movement detected approaching your position," Navi warned. "Multiple life forms, approximately 20, moving slowly toward the structure." Jack looked at the entrance to the chamber. "The locals are coming back. Maybe they saw the facility." Activate. Indigenous population designation tellers seeded species variant 15 technological development pre-industrial. Genetic compatibility with humans 62%. "They're another seeded species?" Jack asked, surprised. "Do they know about the architects?" Limited knowledge. Tellers regard architects as mythological beings. They lack genetic markers for full system. Access. Jack heard sounds from the corridor, voices speaking in an unknown language, footsteps approaching cautiously. "Can you help me communicate with them?" Jack asked the system. Translation protocols initiated. Caution advised. Tellers have limited understanding of advanced concepts. Jack stood and faced the entrance, unarmed, hands visible. He had come too, far to hide now. The first contact between humans and another intelligent species was about to happen, and somehow he was the one representing all of humanity. The footsteps grew louder. Shadows appeared in the corridor, and then the first of the tellers stepped into the chamber. They were shorter than Jack, with copper-colored skin and large, expressive eyes. Their bodies had 6 limbs, 2 legs, 2 arms like humans, and a smaller pair of arms at mid-torso. They wore simple clothing made from woven plant fibers, decorated with geometric patterns similar to those on the facility walls. The lead teller carried a staff topped with glowing crystals. It stopped several feet from Jack, looking at him with what seemed like a mixture of fear and curiosity. Then it spoke, its voice melodic and complex. The architect system translated. "The ancestors said star travelers would return when the lights awaken." Jack took a deep breath. Everything he said now would become part of history. The first words between humans and aliens. "I come in peace," he said, using the oldest greeting he could think of. "My name is Jack Miller. I'm a human from a planet called Earth." As the translation reached the tellers, they looked at each other and then back at Jack. The leader stepped forward and spoke again. "I am Ren, voice of the tellers. The old stories say you carry the key to wake the sleeping knowledge. Is this true?" Jack looked around at the now active facility, then back at the tellers. "I think it might be, and I think we have much to learn from each other." Behind him, the main screen changed to show both humans and tellers standing together among stars. The universal translator provided the meaning of the architect text that appeared. "The seeded shall inherit the stars." Jack and Ren sat across from each other in the central chamber of the architect facility. 3 days had passed since their first meeting. In that time, Jack had learned much about the tellers, while they had been eager to hear about humans and Earth. "Your ship carries 10,000 sleeping humans?" Ren asked, his large eyes wide with wonder. The architect system translated his melodic speech perfectly now. "Yes," Jack confirmed. "They were supposed to start a new colony on another planet, but our ship got damaged and lost." Ren nodded, his copper skin reflecting the blue light of the chamber. "Perhaps this is not accident. The old stories say the star travelers would come when needed most. The tellers were a nomadic people who lived in small groups, moving with the seasons. They had simple technology, tools, weapons, and basic farming, but possessed remarkable mental abilities. Their communal memory allowed them to share experiences directly with each other, preserving their history without writing. The architects visited our ancestors many times, Ren explained, using his middle pair of arms to create a glowing image in the air between them, a memory of a memory passed down through countless generations. They taught us about the stars, showed us the patterns of life. Then they stopped coming. Our oldest memories show their sadness in final visits. Jack had spent hours studying the architect database. According to their records, the architects were fighting a war with something they called the Swarm. They lost that war about 20,000 years ago. The Eaters of Light, Ren nodded solemnly. Our stories speak of them too. The ancestors fled from shadows that consumed stars. Jack stood and walked to the main console. Navi, are you still connected? Yes, Captain, came the AI's voice through his communicator. I continue to monitor your position and the ship's systems. I'm sending you stellar navigation data from the Architect database. It should help plot our exact location and potential. Routes home. Receiving data now, Navi confirmed. Processing. Jack turned back to Ren. The architects left more than just knowledge here. There's technology that could help both our peoples. The teller leader hesitated. We have tried to use the ancestor machines before. They do not respond to us as they do to you. Jack had noticed this. Many systems in the facility only fully activated when he touched them, remaining partly dormant when the tellers tried to use them. The architect system explained this to me, Jack said. Both humans and tellers have certain genetic markers the architects engineered into us, but they split the access codes between our species. Neither of us has complete access alone. Why would the ancestors do this? Ren asked. I think they wanted to ensure cooperation, Jack replied. They seeded many worlds, created many different intelligent species. Maybe they hoped we would all work together someday. A message from Navi interrupted them. Captain, I've analyzed the navigation data. I've located our original destination, Colony World. It's approximately 70 light years from our current position. That's too far with our damaged systems, Jack said, frowning. Correct. However, the data shows several potentially habitable worlds much closer. The nearest is only 3 light years away. Jack considered this. They could potentially repair the Pathfinder enough to reach a closer world. But as he looked at Ren and thought about what they had discovered here, he wondered if they needed to leave at all. There's something else you should know, Captain, Navi added, her voice oddly urgent for an AI. Long-range sensors have detected unusual energy patterns at the edge of this solar system. The patterns match descriptions in the Architect database of swarm scout ships. Jack felt a chill run through him. Are you certain? The match is 96% probable. The Architect data suggests these are advanced scouts that precede the main swarm by several days. Ren had gone very still. The Eaters of Light have returned? Jack nodded grimly. It seems so. Navi, how much time do we have? At current approach speeds, the scout ships will reach planetary orbit in approximately 5 days. If they follow patterns described in the Architect database, the main swarm would arrive 3 to 4 days after that. Jack looked around the chamber with new urgency. This facility must have defenses. The architects wouldn't leave their seeded worlds completely unprotected. Defenses exist, the architect system displayed on the main screen. Orbital platforms, planetary shield, requires full genetic access to activate. Full genetic access, Jack repeated, meaning both human and teller DNA together. Ren stood up, his 6 limbs moving in perfect coordination. We must warn my people. Many teller groups live across the Great Plains. They must come to safety. And I need to prepare the Pathfinder, Jack added. Navy, wake Dr. Reed and the chief engineer. Brief them on the situation. Acknowledged, Captain. As Ren left to alert his people, Jack studied the facility's schematics displayed on the main screen. The orbital defense platforms were scattered around the planet dormant for millennia. The shield generator was built into a mountain range 100 miles north, all waiting for the right genetic combination to wake them. 2 hours later, Jack stood in the shuttle bay of the Pathfinder. greeting the newly awakened colonists. Tom Reed, the colony's chief scientist, was first to approach, still shaking off the effects of cryosleep. "Jack, Navi told us what's happening, but it's hard to believe," he said, running a hand through his gray-streaked hair. "I know it sounds crazy," Jack replied, "but everything I've found confirms it. The architects were real. They created life on Earth and many other worlds, and their ancient enemy is heading our way." Emma Reed joined them, her eyes bright with excitement despite the danger. As the colony's xenobiologist, the discovery of the tellers was the opportunity of a lifetime. "I need to meet them," she said. "If what you say about the genetic keys is true, we'll need to understand exactly how they work." Jack nodded. "That's why I woke you both. Tom, I need you to help analyze the architect technology. Emma, you'll work with the tellers to figure out the genetic interface." Chief Engineer Patel approached, already looking at schematics on a tablet. "Captain, these defense platforms are incredible. If we can get them working, they could protect both the planet and our ship." "That's the plan," Jack confirmed. "We have about 5 days before the scout ships arrive, maybe 8 until the main swarm gets here." As they prepared to return to the surface, Jack looked out the viewports at the blue-green planet below. Just days ago it had been an unknown world. Now it might be humanity's last hope. On the surface, Wren had gathered the leaders of nearby teller groups. They met with Jack and the human scientists in a large tent at the edge of the architect facility. Despite the language barrier, Emma Reed quickly established communication through the architect translation system. "The genetic key is fascinating," she told Jack after examining both human and teller DNA samples. "The architects didn't just seed life randomly. They designed complementary systems across different species. Can we use it to activate the defenses?" Jack asked. Emma nodded. "I think so. When humans and tellers work in close proximity, both experience enhanced abilities. Have you noticed anything unusual when working with Wren?" Jack thought about it. "I've been having moments of unusual clarity, and sometimes I seem to feel what he's feeling." "Exactly," Emma said excitedly. "The architects built a low-level, telepathic link between compatible seeded species. It's subtle but real. I believe that's the key to fully accessing their systems." As night fell, Jack stood outside looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the swarm was coming. The same enemy that had destroyed the mighty architects was now heading toward this small planet, with its 10,000 sleeping humans and scattered teller tribes. Wren joined him, his copper skin silvery in the moonlight. "My people speak of a time when different children of the ancestors would stand together against darkness. We thought it just a story." "Sometimes stories come true," Jack replied. "Tomorrow, we head to the shield generator. If Emma's right about the genetic interface, we'll need humans and tellers working together to activate it." "And if we fail?" Wren asked softly. Jack looked up at the stars again, thinking of all the sleeping colonists depending on him, of the tellers who had lived peacefully on this world for thousands of years, and of the ancient architects who had set this all in motion millions of years ago. "The architects seeded dozens of worlds," he said finally. "They lost their war, but they made sure their legacy would continue through us. We won't fail." As they spoke, a shooting star streaked across the sky, too bright, too straight to be natural. The first swarm scout had entered the atmosphere. The race against time had begun. Dawn broke over the mountains as 3 shuttles rose from the Pathfinder. Jack piloted the lead craft, with Emma Reed and 4 other awakened colonists aboard. Behind him flew shuttles carrying engineering teams and basic weapons. In the distance, thin trails of smoke marked where 2 swarm scout ships had crashed during the night. "Navi, status update," Jack called through the communicator. 3 swarm scouts have entered the atmosphere," the AI replied. 2 were destroyed by automated defenses. 1 has landed approximately 40 miles west of your position. That was both good and bad news. The ancient defense systems still worked at a basic level, but they hadn't stopped all the scouts. What about the main swarm fleet? Long-range sensors. Detect large energy signatures 7 days out from the planet, consistent with architect records of swarm hive ships. 7 days. Not much time to prepare. The shuttles passed over forests and plains, heading toward a mountain range where the main shield generator was located. Below, Jack could see groups of tellers traveling on foot and on large six-legged animals that resembled horses with scales instead of hair. They landed at the base of the tallest mountain. Ren was already waiting with 30 tellers, their copper skin gleaming in the morning light. "More of my people come from distant settlements," Ren said, as Jack approached. "The elders remember how to reach the sacred mountain from our oldest memories." Jack nodded. "Good. We'll need as many of you as possible to help activate the full defense system." According to the Architect database, the mountain contained not just a shield generator, but a command center for the entire planetary defense network. It had been designed to be operated by multiple seeded species working together. The entrance was half hidden behind a waterfall, a door made of the same strange material as the first facility. It didn't open until both Jack and Ren placed their hands on the control panel. "Genetic verification accepted," announced a voice in the Architect language, then repeated in English and the Teller tongue. "Welcome, inheritors." They entered a vast chamber carved into the mountain. Unlike the smaller facility, this one showed no signs of decay. Lights activated as they walked, illuminating hallways and rooms filled with technology far beyond human understanding. "It's beautiful," Emma whispered, studying displays that appeared in the air around them. The architects were masters of biointegration. Their technology responds to living tissue. Chief Engineer Patel was examining what appeared to be the main control systems. "This is going to take time to understand. We have 7 days to figure out technology that's thousands of years ahead of ours. The architects wanted us to use this," Jack reminded him. "They built it for their seeded species to find." As human engineers and scientists spread through the facility, tellers arrived in growing numbers. Ren organized them into groups, explaining their role as best he could. Many were frightened, having never seen technology before, but their trust in their leaders and the ancient stories of the ancestors kept them cooperative. Jack found himself drawn to a large spherical chamber at the center of the facility. Inside was a raised platform with handprints marked on its surface, some clearly designed for human hands, others for the six-fingered hands of tellers. "This is it," he said when Emma joined him. "The primary interface." Emma scanned the platform. "With her equipment, the genetic markers are lighting up. This requires direct neural connection from both species." Jack called Ren to join them. "I think we need to try activating this together." Ren studied the handprints. "Our oldest memories speak of joining minds with the ancestors. Is this what they meant?" "One way to find out," Jack said, positioning his hands over the human prints. Ren did the same with the teller prints. They looked at each other, then pressed their hands down simultaneously. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Jack felt a rush of energy through his body, and suddenly his mind was expanding. He could feel Ren's thoughts, memories flooding into him. Thousands of years of teller history, experiences passed down through generations. At the same time, Ren was receiving Jack's memories: Earth, the journey through space, the sleeping colonists. Their minds merged and extended beyond the facility, connecting to the orbital platforms, sensor arrays, and defense systems spread across the planet. When they finally broke contact, both collapsed to the floor, gasping. "Did you see it all?" Jack asked when he could speak again. Ren nodded, his eyes wide. "Your world, so many humans, machines everywhere. And I saw yours. Your people's memories going back thousands of years. The architects visiting, teaching you." Emma helped them to their feet. "What happened?" "The whole facility just lit up, like a Christmas tree." "We activated it," Jack said, "but it's not enough. We need more people, humans and tellers together, to fully power the defense grid." He explained what they had experienced. The mental connection was the key. The architects had designed the system to require the combined brain power of multiple seeded species. "The architects were geniuses," Emma said after running more scans. "The system uses quantum entanglement principles to link minds together, creating a living network more powerful than any computer." By evening, 50 Humans had been awakened from the colony ship and transported to the mountain facility. They worked alongside 100 tellers, forming pairs at smaller interface stations throughout the complex. Jack stood at the main control platform with Tom Reed, watching as displays showed the defense grid coming online. Orbital weapons platforms were powering up. Sensor arrays extended their reach, tracking the approaching swarm. "It's working," Tom said, amazed. "The shield generator is at 60% and rising. Another day and we should have full coverage." But they didn't have another day. "Captain," called one of the technicians, "we're detecting high-speed objects entering the atmosphere. Dozens of them." Jack rushed to the display. "Navy, what are we seeing?" "Multiple swarm craft approaching," the AI reported. "Pattern consistent with attack formation. The main fleet has accelerated. Estimated arrival now 48 hours. They must have detected our defense preparations," Jack realized. "They're trying to take out the shield before we can get it fully operational." Ren joined him at the display. "What can we do?" Jack studied the tactical situation. The shield wasn't ready, but some of the orbital weapons were online. "We fight," he said simply. "Tom, get the shield to whatever level you can. Emma, we need more neural connections. Wake more colonists." "The Pathfinder is vulnerable," Patel pointed out. "If the swarm detects 10,000 sleeping humans," Jack nodded grimly, "they'd be a prime target. Navi, move the ship to the dark side of the larger moon. Power down all non-essential systems." "Acknowledged, Captain. Beginning maneuvers now." As the Pathfinder moved to safety, Jack and Ren returned to the main interface platform. "We need to coordinate the orbital defenses manually until the automatic systems are fully online," Jack explained. Ren placed his 6-fingered hands on the designated spots. "Like before? Our minds together?" "Yes," Jack said, positioning his own hands. "But this time we'll be fighting." They pressed down together, and once again their minds merged. This time they were ready for it, directing their combined consciousness toward the orbital platforms. Through the neural link, they could see the incoming swarm ships, dark angular craft that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Jack targeted the lead ships, feeling Ren's mind working alongside his, their thoughts moving faster than would be possible alone. Beams of energy lanced out from the orbital platforms, striking the first wave of swarm craft. Several exploded while others broke formation trying to evade. But more kept coming. The swarm attacked with cold efficiency, probing for weaknesses. Several ships targeted the mountain facility directly, their weapons powerful enough to penetrate. The partial shield. The mountain shook with nearby impacts. Warning signals flashed across the displays. "Shield integrity at 40%, called one of the technicians. "Another direct hit and we'll lose the eastern sector." Jack and Ren pushed, harder through the neural link, redirecting defensive fire. They managed to destroy the ships targeting the facility, but others were landing across the planet. When they finally broke contact, both were exhausted. Blood trickled from Jack's nose, and Ren's copper skin had taken on a sickly gray tone. "We held them off," Jack said, wiping the blood away. "For now." "But more come," Ren replied weakly. "Many more." Tom Reed approached with new scans. "The main swarm fleet has accelerated again. They'll be here in 24 hours. Jack looked around at the humans and tellers working together, their faces tired but determined. They had activated ancient technology beyond their understanding, fought off the first attack, but the real battle hadn't even begun. "Then we have 24 hours to prepare," he said. "And we'll need a new strategy. The architects couldn't defeat the swarm with technology alone. We need to find a different way." As night fell, lights from swarm scout ships could be seen moving across the sky. The enemy was here, probing their defenses, searching for weaknesses. Tomorrow would bring the real test. Dawn revealed the damage from yesterday's battle. Smoking craters dotted the landscape where swarm ships had crashed. 3 of the orbital defense platforms had been destroyed. In the mountain facility, humans and tellers worked frantically to repair damaged systems. Jack stood at the main display, studying the approaching swarm fleet. The mass of ships looked like a dark cloud moving toward the planet. "How many?" he asked Tom Reed, who was analyzing the sensor data. Over 200. Large vessels, Tom replied, his face grim. Thousands of smaller craft. The architect records weren't exaggerating. The swarm is a force designed for total consumption. Emma joined them, looking tired but determined. We figured out something important about the swarm. They operate with a hive mind. All ships connected to central command vessels. Like insects, Jack said, thinking of bees or ants. Exactly. And they're predictable because of it. They use patterns the architects documented thousands of years ago. They haven't evolved or adapted. They're strategies. Jack saw a glimmer of hope in this. So they're powerful but not creative. They don't need to be, Tom pointed out. Their patterns worked against the architects. But we're not the architects, Jack said, an idea forming. And neither are the tellers. We're something new, something the swarm hasn't encountered before. He called for Wren, who arrived with several teller elders. Together they gathered in the command center to hear Jack's plan. The architects were a single species, Jack explained. Highly advanced, but they thought in similar ways. The swarm adapted to their patterns and overwhelmed them. He gestured to the humans and tellers around the room. But we're different species with different ways of thinking. When we connect through the neural interface, we create something unique, a hybrid consciousness the swarm has never faced. Wren nodded in understanding. Two keys unlock what one cannot. Exactly, Jack continued. The shield and orbital weapons aren't enough on their own. But if we use our combined minds to create unpredictable attack patterns, we might confuse the swarm long enough to find their weakness. The plan came together quickly. 100 human teller pairs would connect to different parts of the defense network. Unlike the architects who had used automated systems with predictable algorithms, these pairs would make decentralized decisions, creating chaos in the swarm's carefully ordered attacks. Meanwhile, Jack had another idea. Navi, can the Pathfinder be piloted remotely? Affirmative, Captain. I can control all ship functions. Good. Bring it out of hiding. We're going to use it. Several teller elders were concerned. You would risk your sleeping people? One asked. Not the people, Jack clarified. Just the ship. The swarm wants to consume resources, right? The Pathfinder is full of metals and technology they would consider valuable. A trap, Wren said, understanding. Jack nodded. Navi will pilot the ship while keeping all cryopods safe in the central section. We'll use it to lure a portion of the swarm away from the main attack. As the swarm fleet entered the outer atmosphere, everyone took their positions. Jack and Wren stood at the primary interface, ready to coordinate the overall defense. Human teller pairs connected throughout the facility, each controlling a different weapon system or shield section. Remember, Jack told them all, don't think like machines. Be unpredictable. Use your combined instincts. The neural links activated, and Jack once again felt his mind expanding, joining with Wren's. But this time he could sense the other pairs too. A network of hybrid consciousness spreading across the defense grid. The swarm attacked in perfect formation, waves of ships following precise patterns. But instead of meeting an equally predictable defense, they encountered chaos. Weapons fired from unexpected angles, shields strengthened in some areas while deliberately weakening in others, creating traps. Through the neural link, Jack could see the confusion spreading through the swarm. Their perfect formations began to break apart as they tried to adapt to the unpredictable defense. It's working, Tom called out from his station. They're breaking pattern. On the far side of the planet, the Pathfinder emerged from behind the moon, its engines at full power. As Jack had predicted, a large portion of the swarm broke away to pursue what appeared to be an easy target. Navi, execute maneuver Omega, Jack ordered through the link. The colony ship suddenly changed course, diving toward the planet's largest ocean. The pursuing swarm ships followed, exactly as planned. Just before impact, the Pathfinder pulled up sharply while jettisoning its empty fuel containers. The massive explosion as the fuel ignited caught dozens of swarm ships, destroying them instantly. The electromagnetic pulse disrupted the coordination between the remaining ships, causing them to crash into each other. Back at the mountain facility, Jack and Ren pushed deeper into the neural link, searching for the swarm's command structure. Through the architect's sensor network, they found it, 5 larger vessels hanging back from the main battle, directing the attack. There, Jack said through the link, highlighting the command ships for all the neural pairs to see. Everything at those 5 ships, now! Every operational weapon in the defense network fired simultaneously at the command vessels. Some shots missed, some were blocked, but enough got through. One by one, the command ships exploded. The effect on the remaining swarm was immediate and dramatic. Without central direction, the ships lost all coordination. Some continued attacking randomly, others flew in circles or crashed into each other. A few retreated into space. "Keep fighting," Jack ordered through the link. "Target any ship still attacking." The battle continued for hours, with the human teller pairs working in perfect harmony. When it was finally over, the skies were clear of swarm ships. Those that hadn't been destroyed had fled the system. Jack and Ren disconnected from the interface, both exhausted but alive. Around them, other pairs were doing the same, many collapsing from the mental strain but smiling in victory. "We did it," Jack said simply. "We beat them." Ren nodded. Not as the architects would have, as something new. In the days that followed, the Pathfinder returned to orbit, damaged but intact. The cryopods had remained safe, all 10,000 colonists still sleeping peacefully, unaware of how close they had come to destruction. Jack stood with Emma and Tom on a hilltop near the architect facility, watching tellers and awakened humans working together to build shelters. "What now?" Emma asked. "Do we continue to our original colony destination?" Jack looked at the blue-green world around them, thinking of everything they had discovered. "This was meant to be our home," he said. "The architects planned it millions of years ago. They seeded Earth and this world, created the tellers and us, left their knowledge for us to find." Tom nodded. "The orbital scans show this planet has everything we need, fertile land, abundant resources, and the tellers have offered to share it." Below, Ren was teaching a group of human children about local plants while teller youngsters watched a human engineer demonstrate a simple machine. Already, the two species were learning from each other. "Navi," Jack called through his communicator. "Begin waking process for all colonists. Group Alpha first, construction and agriculture. Specialists." "Acknowledged, Captain. Waking process initiated." Emma smiled. "So we're staying?" "Yes," Jack confirmed. "But not just to build our own colony. We're going to build something new, a world where humans and tellers live together." He pointed to the stars becoming visible as the sun set. "And then when we're ready, we'll find the other seeded worlds. The architects created 27 spacefaring species before they were destroyed. Some of them must still be out there." Ren joined them on the hilltop, his copper skin glowing in the sunset. "The old stories say the children of the ancestors would one day unite the stars." "They were right," Jack said. "This was just the beginning." That night, as the humans began constructing their first permanent settlement, Jack returned to the architect facility alone. He placed his hand on the main console one last time. "Thank you," he said to the ancient beings who had set this all in motion millions of years ago. "We'll carry your legacy forward." The screen lit up with a final message in the architect language, translated for him to read. "The seeded have become the seeders. The cycle continues." Jack nodded. The architects were gone, but their dream lived on through their children, humans, tellers, and all the other species waiting to be discovered among the stars. And Jack Miller, who had begun this journey as just a colony ship captain, had become something more, the first navigator of this new chapter in the story of life in the universe. As he stepped outside, he looked up at the night sky. No longer seeing just stars, but future homes, future allies, future adventures. The journey had only just begun.